At the beginning of the 20th century, Europe entered what would become the most destructive conflict the modern world had yet experienced. When World War I broke out in 1914, the United States did not immediately join the fighting. Instead, it declared neutrality, remaining officially outside the war for nearly 3 years. During this period, the American public was largely told that the conflict was a distant European affair, driven by political alliances, nationalism, and military aggression overseas. However, neutrality in military terms did not mean disengagement in economic terms. As the war continued, the United States became increasingly involved through trade, finance, and credit. By 1915 and 1916, European nations, particularly Great Britain and France, were under immense financial strain. Modern warfare required vast quantities of weapons, ammunition, food, fuel, and industrial materials. These supplies were not only costly to produce, but also difficult to sustain over multiple years of fighting. As domestic resources were depleted, these nations turned outward, relying heavily on foreign suppliers. American manufacturers became major producers of war materials. Factories in the United States supplied rifles, artillery shells, uniforms, foodstuffs, and raw materials. These goods were sold primarily to Allied nations, as Germany's access to American trade was restricted by British naval blockades. As a result, American commerce became economically aligned with one side of the war, even while political neutrality remained intact. This alignment did not require official declarations or formal alliances. It emerged gradually through the flow of goods, contracts, and payments. Over time, the scale of production expanded beyond what Allied governments could immediately pay for using existing reserves. To sustain purchasing, Britain and France relied increasingly on credit issued by American financial institutions. These loans allowed Allied governments to continue acquiring supplies while postponing repayment until after the war. In this way, economic involvement deepened even as military involvement remained absent. The financing of wartime trade placed American banks in a central position. Among these institutions, J.P. Morgan and Company played a prominent role. The firm acted as a financial agent for Allied governments in the United States, coordinating loans, facilitating purchases, and connecting American manufacturers with European buyers. This role meant that American banks were not merely observers of the conflict. They became financially exposed to its outcome. As loans accumulated, repayment depended increasingly on an Allied victory. If Britain and France were unable to prevail, their ability to repay debts would be compromised. As the war continued, the total volume of loans increased. These financial commitments tied significant portions of the American economy to the success of one side of the conflict. Manufacturers relied on contracts, workers relied on factory wages, and banks relied on eventual repayment. While the United States remained officially neutral, its economy was becoming structurally aligned with the Allies. This alignment was reinforced by the fact that trade with Germany was severely limited by naval blockades, leaving few alternatives for American exporters. The lecture presents this period as one in which economic neutrality became increasingly difficult to maintain. Even without formal policy decisions, financial systems respond to incentives, risks, and opportunities. By 1916, those incentives were overwhelmingly connected to Allied survival. At the same time, public opinion within the United States remained divided. Many citizens opposed entering a foreign war. As a result, economic involvement alone was not sufficient to justify military action. Political and emotional catalysts would still play a role.